What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Monster Review, where we take a look at tech tips and how-to videos. Today is a great day. I finally got the Ember Mug. I've been eyeing this thing up for a very long time, almost 2 years now, but I couldn't justify the $200 price tag. It was just way too much for me. So instead, I invested in a Yeti cup. I love my Yeti cup. It's the best cup ever. I use it every single day, and it keeps my coffee nice and hot from 7:30 to roughly about 1 p.m., which is super long. It's amazing. I love my Yeti cup. But Best Buy dropped the price down for this for Christmas to $150. So, I was like, well, let's see if this can outperform the Yeti. Highly doubt it, but I mean, it's an electric mug, so it should be able to take down the Yeti. But excited to see, how well this performs. Because like I said, Yeti is my favorite cup, so this definitely has its work cut out for it. So this thing is old, and YouTube is flooded with reviews for this mug, but they are, kind of outdated. So I bought this mug this month of 2022 in December, and we're gonna see how well it performs. It looks like the same exact model when Ember first introduced this mug, so I'm interested to see if they did update it. Maybe they didn't update the design, but they updated the internals. Who knows? So basically, for those of you who've never seen this mug before, it's an electric mug. It keeps your coffee hot as long as it's on the dock, on the charger base. If you take it off the charger base, it has a 3-hour battery life. Battery dies out, you will have to return it to the dock. Don't think it's an insulated mug like the Yeti. Yeti obviously requires no battery, requires no dock. It's insulated and keeps your, coffee drink hot. I would say at least 5 hours. Oh, I know there's a Yeti. You can also put cold drinks in it. You won't be doing yourself any favors by putting cold drinks in it. It's specifically for hot drinks. So yeah, 3-hour battery life. You can control it with your smartphone. So I guess that's another thing this has over the Yeti. You can adjust the temperature. Yeti, you put a hot drink in and it'll keep it hot for as long as it can. Enough babbling. Cut open. Now. I'd be surprised if this video manages to pull more than 500 views. I honestly don't see it going past 120. But hey, you don't know unless you try, right? So I will say the Ember doesn't really feel much heavier than my Yeti. So the Yeti cup is 283 grams, 436. So it's slightly heavier than the Yeti cup. Also worth mentioning, this Yeti cup can definitely take a beating, no problem. I've dropped this thing on concrete, tile, industrial concrete, nothing. The lid doesn't even crack. It's just, if anything, the concrete is damaged. So the only thing that is dishwasher safe is the lid. Alright, now this lid feels very flimsy compared to the lid of the Yeti. This lid is it doesn't budge, it doesn't flex, nothing. But if I apply a lot of pressure on this lid, it does flex, does give out. Oh, it's one of those push buttons. So you push it to open it. So I will say, that is a problem with the Yeti. Yeti cup is not leak proof. If you flip it upside down, your contents will pour out. Funny, because the box doesn't mention that this is leak proof. We'll see. We'll find out. We'll find out. Only a tech nerd would have a battery powered mug. And a lot of tech nerds that I follow actually do have this battery-powered mug. Okay, so the mug is out. What else we got here? We got some paperwork here. Instruction manuals, quick start guides, dream come true, a bunch of stickers, Ember stickers. Obviously, the base cannot be washed, as indicated by this sticker right here. Contacts go around in a circle. No matter where you put it on the base, it will always make contact. Here is... No, ironically... 2 years ago, I did buy a mug. It was the cup. It wasn't the travel mug for my dad. He never told me whether he liked it or not, or whether he thought it was really cool, and I've never seen him use it. So, alright, so the instructions call to let it charge first time around. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set this up at my desk and put it to charge fully and start using it tomorrow. and I'll compare it with the Yeti over a couple of weeks. At the end of my testing, I will choose my favorite mug, whether it be the Ember, my new favorite mug, or whether it would be the Yeti, my current favorite mug. That is the $1,000,000 question. Let the testing begin. Wrap up time. All right, so I've used the Ember mug for 2 months or a month now, and I have a pretty good idea what this mug is about. Let me break down the things that I like about the mug and the things that I don't like about this mug. Let's start with likes. Number 1, if you use cold milk or creamer, it won't cool your coffee. That's obvious, right? Because this heats your drink, your coffee, hot chocolate, whatever you put in it, it heats it up, right? So one of the biggest problems with your coffee is that when you put milk or creamer, it's usually cold and it'll cold your coffee. Now, there is an easy way around this. All you have to do is pretty much warm your milk before you mix it in your coffee. So pretty simple, right? But not a lot of people really have time to do that, right? Because it takes time to warm up the milk separately before adding it to the mug. With the Ember mug, cold milk or creamer is not a problem. You put your coffee in here, you put your creamer, your sugar, your milk, or whatever in here, and you just put it on the base and leave it alone, and it will warm everything up to the perfect temperature, the temperature that you like. Number 2, this dot matrix display is actually pretty cool. I like it. I like it a lot. And I'm not the only person that likes it. When people see this display right here, it sparks a lot of questions like, what is that? Is that a battery powered mug? Is that a mug that, you know, display has a display on it, like it shows your name? Because this shows the name of your mug. You can name your mug whatever you want. And you know, I'm like, no, it's not really, you know, it does, that's one of the features it does, but its main function is to heat your liquid, keep your liquid nice and hot. And after I say that, then the conversation starts. But yeah, I like the dot matrix. I think it's a nice touch, especially being able to customize it and name the mug whatever you want. It's really cool. Number 3, setting your own temperature. So obviously on the mug, you have the option to set your temperature, you know, hot or cold. You can set your temperature that way. So if you have a preferred temperature, you can set the preset in the app, and you can set multiple presets. So you can store up to 6 presets. You know, if you have a special temperature for tea and a different temperature for coffee and then a different temperature for hot chocolate. The app comes preloaded with presets for you, so you can easily just change the temperature. There's something called a tea timer. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's a countdown timer, so my guess it shuts off the heater after the timer is complete. Number 4, I like the width of it. This thing fits really nicely in my hand. Easy to hold in one hand, drink your coffee. Just for comparison, this is the Yeti cup, and the width for this cup is a lot bigger than the Ember mug. This is a lot more comfortable to hold than the Yeti cup. I mean, it's not a problem. I've used this cup for years. No issues, but it is a lot more comfortable to hold the Ember mug. So they definitely thought about going ergonomic when designing this mug. Number 5, this thing is leak proof. Yes, whatever you put in it, the lid is completely sealed. Tip your mug, or if you spill it on the table, if you knock it over on the table, anything like that, the contents are going to remain in the mug. That is not the case with these Yeti cups, with the Magna Slide they call it. These things are not leak proof. They prevent spillage, so if you knock it over the table, your coffee or tea or whatever, it's not going to come spilling out of the mug. Some liquid does manage to escape from the Magna Seal because it's not exactly 100% sealed, and so you do end up with a mess, slight mess, but still a mess nonetheless. This though, 100% leak proof. You don't have to worry about spilling your stuff. And then number 6, this thing has a cool feature where as soon as you pour your liquid into it and show you the temperature of the contents you are putting inside of it. I thought that was really cool. When you're a coffee fanatic like me, you kind of obsess over the temperature of your coffee. Like, you always want it to be the perfect temperature because coffee is a science. It's like chemistry, so everything needs to be perfect for you to get that perfect brew. And so I thought it's really cool that I can always keep tabs of how well my coffee machine is performing, because as soon as I put the contents into this mug, it'll tell me the temperature. All right, so those are the likes. What are the dislikes? Number one, price. This thing is way overpriced. $200 for this mug? No, that is too expensive. I wouldn't recommend anyone paying $200 for this mug. It is not worth that price. It's funny too, because like when we started going into name brand coffee mugs and learning about the different ways they're designed and installed and all that, and I saw the price for the Yeti mug like hovering between like 35 and 50 bucks for this particular mug. I was like, whoa, that is expensive. No way, I'll never pay that much for a mug. And like, you know, I thought that was like the most expensive mug out there. Yetis were the most expensive mug, but this beats the cake, man. $200 for this thing? No, not worth it. Number two, capacity. The capacity for this thing is really bad. This mug is 20 ounce, and you know, I've gotten so used to it because I pretty much brew 12 ounces of coffee. And, you know, when I pour that inside here, I still have a lot of room for my milk creamer, sugar. It's about 20 ounces of liquid in here. So I've gotten so used to that. And right, so my body's gotten so used to drinking 20 ounces of coffee every single day. And so when I was testing out this mug, I had to severely cut my coffee intake. And, you know, some of you might argue that's a good thing. It would have been if it wasn't so drastic. So the maximum capacity of this mug is 12 ounces. The coffee that I brew is 12 ounces on its own. So I only have enough room to drink black coffee in here. I don't have room for milk and sugar. So what I had to do was I had to cut down my coffee. And so I brew 8 ounces of coffee, and then I'll have room for milk and sugar. 20 ounce gets me through the day. 12 ounce gets me through the hour. Number three, battery life. Battery life on this thing is terrible. So they gave it 3 hours of like, you know, runtime before you have to recharge it. That's a little generous because I find that the temperature that I like to drink my coffee at, which is like 132, this thing will only last like an hour and a half before the battery dies. That being said, if you are a person that works out on the field, this might not be the mug for you. If you want to take advantage of the heater and, you know, the feature of it warming your coffee or tea or whatever, you're going to have to walk around with this so you can keep your contents hot. If you are a person that works out on the field, I definitely would recommend a Yeti cup over the Ember. The Ember just doesn't make sense because, you know, you need this in order for this to actually make sense. So I would definitely recommend the Yeti cup, because the Yeti cup, this thing really does keep your coffee hot. Take the time to warm up your coffee and then put it in this. You can get a lot of hours out of this, because if you don't have the base, then you're pretty much relying on the battery. Number four, fragile. This thing is fragile. You know, you don't want to be dropping this mug on the concrete, on the floor. You're definitely going to cause some damage. So you do have to take it easy with this mug. You have to hand wash it. You can't put it in a dishwasher. And you also, they highly recommend using a bottle washer to clean it. So you do have to take care of this Ember mug. The Yeti, on the other hand, you can toss this thing outside a second-story building and have it hit the concrete, and for the most part, it'll be fine. You might have a crack on the top lid, but I mean, I think this thing is bulletproof. I can't tell you how many times I've dropped it on a slab of concrete and I walk away without a scuff on my mug. Number five, and this is a big one. This mug isn't insulated, which means that once the battery dies and you don't have the charger with you, you're out of luck. This thing will not keep your coffee hot. As soon as the battery dies, boom, your coffee temperature is going to take a dive to Antarctica. It solely relies on the heater to keep it warm, right? Whereas the Yeti mug, it's insulated. So whatever is in here, it's going to stay warm for as long as the mug can keep it warm. So you're probably wondering, how do I know the Ember mug is not insulated? Well, that's easy. I put hot water straight from my coffee machine into each mug. The Yeti had a temperature reading of 170 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is directly out of my coffee machine. And then I did the same thing for the Ember Mug. The Ember Mug, the water in the Ember Mug, had a reading of 174 degrees Fahrenheit. We're off to a great start. But now what I did was I let each mug sit for 5 hours with the lid closed. When I took the reading for the Ember Mug, the temperature was a staggering 93 degrees Fahrenheit, and the temperature for the Yeti Mug was an astonishing 130 degrees Fahrenheit. That tells us that there is no installation whatsoever with the Ember Mug. Alright, so let me do my final thoughts now. A couple of things that I labeled about what I dislike about this mug go hand in hand. So capacity and battery life and not being insulated. Those three things go hand in hand, and I'll tell you why. If you drink a lot of coffee, like if you're like a 20-ounce kind of coffee guy, like or girl, like me, this mug is not going to really benefit you at all because, you know, the capacity is 12 ounce, so you're cutting your coffee in half. If you're used to drinking 20 ounces within like the first 5 hours of your day, you're gonna definitely knock 12 ounces of coffee in like an hour or two. So I honestly don't see a reason to have a battery powered mug, right? One of the things that sold me on it being battery powered is that I could keep my coffee hotter for longer. That's one of the reasons why I bought this mug, right? After 5 hours, the coffee temperature starts to drop drastically with the Yeti mug. So my thought was like, okay, well, I'll get the Ember Mug and hopefully I can extend my coffee longer than 5 hours. I completely forgot that this capacity is 20 ounces and this is only 12 ounces. And so what ended up happening, I cut my coffee in half, and so I was drinking out my coffee within the first 2 hours. And so there was really no need for, you know, the heater. Yeah, so, you know, the first 2 hours, my coffee is the perfect temperature. But then after, you know, the first 2 hours, I have no coffee left. I started scratching my head and I was like, okay, I clearly didn't think this through. If you're a type of person that has a desk job and you don't drink a lot of coffee, you know, 1 cup of coffee, you can actually stretch it through the day. And I know a couple of people like that. My wife is like that. She'll make a 8-ounce cup of coffee last her the entire day. I don't know how she does it, but she does it. So if you're that kind of person and you have a desk job, you know, and you have $200 to spend on the mug, be worth a look into it because it will keep your coffee hot. Because, like, you know, if you're using a Yeti mug, right, and you're drinking 12 ounces of coffee or less and you're stretching it throughout the entire day, this will benefit you, right? It will keep your coffee hot. It will keep your coffee at the perfect temperature. It will work better than if you were to get a Yeti mug. Again, if you drink 12 ounces or less. Like, let's say you drink 12 ounces or less and you use a Yeti mug. The Yeti only will get you up to 5 hours before the temperature of your coffee or whatever is in it starts to drop. In the beginning of the video, I said that I will pick my new favorite mug, whether it's the Ember Mug or the Yeti Mug. And I guess it's no surprise that my new favorite mug is my old favorite mug, the Yeti. And mainly because of the capacity. If the capacity of this thing was bigger, I think it would have overthrown the Yeti. Despite the poor battery life, I need my 20 ounce to function throughout the day. So, I mean, I still use the Ember Mug, but depending on how I feel in the morning, if I'm really groggy and like I need to pick me up, I go straight for the Yeti. But if I'm okay, you know, I'm functioning in the morning, then I'll pull out the Ember, right? So even though I was a little harsh on the Ember Mug, that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to see the company fail. No, I actually want to see them innovate and make this mug even better whenever they decide to release the newer models. I do have some suggestions for them that I would like to see in their newer mugs. Number one, drop the price. $200 for this 12-ounce mug is way too expensive. A more reasonable price would be like $120. I wouldn't mind spending $120 on this mug and recommending it to other people for $120. I think that's a more fair price to pay. Number two, so I would like to see a 20-ounce mug, just like the Yeti. And that's a mug that I wouldn't mind spending $150 or $200 for. I think, you know, that's a more reasonable price for a mug that size. And number three, I think a big added feature that would make this mug worth it for a lot of people would be to add wireless charging capability. because Ember only gives you one of these, right? And not everybody is tied to a desk the entire day. They walk around. Even when I used to work in an office, I wasn't tied to my desk. I would have to go into another room to continue my work. I could take my mug with me, but the battery would die in an hour and a half. I would have to balance my time to make sure that the battery doesn't die, or take the charging pad with me. If you add wireless capabilities, everybody has these. Everybody, because everyone's phone has wireless charging nowadays, right? And you can pick these up cheap on Amazon. For example, me, I have about 5 of them in this house. And one more advice for Ember: the documentation included with the Ember Mug and the app needs to be on the same page. When I downloaded the app, it took me an hour to figure out how to pair the mug with the app, because the app told me to hold down the power button to enable pairing mode on the mug. However, that's the older version of this mug, not the newer version. The newer version, you hold down the Ember logo right up here to enter into pairing mode. I thought nothing of it because I said, hey, you know, the app is saying to hold down the power button. It wouldn't tell me that if it wasn't true. Clearly, they didn't update the app. But this has been a monster review. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.